President Donald Trump suggested that TV networks that criticize him should be punished. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Friday, September 19th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. President Trump flew home yesterday from a state visit to the UK. He spoke to reporters on Air Force One, who questioned him about ABC's move this week to take Jimmy Kimmel's late-night show off the air. That decision followed a conservative backlash to Kimmel's comments about the suspect who killed Charlie Kirk. And it came a few hours after Trump's FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, implied his agency could retaliate against stations that aired Kimmel's show. Here's what Trump had to say about it after complaining that networks were too critical of him.
They give me only bad publicity, press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
The FCC actually regulates TV station licenses and not networks directly. The news of Kimmel's indefinite suspension has spurred accusations that ABC buckled to a censorship campaign targeting one of Trump's vocal critics. The fallout has reverberated across the entertainment industry. Late-night hosts responded to the news on their own programs. That includes Stephen Colbert, whose own show was canceled by CBS in July and will end next year.
And it always starts small. Remember like in week 1 of his presidency, Gulf of America. Call it Gulf of America. Sure, seems harmless, but with an autocrat, you cannot give an inch. And if ABC thinks that this is going to satisfy the regime, they are woefully naive. And clearly, they've never read the children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Kimmel.
In conservative media, though, Kimmel's suspension was largely celebrated. Some commentators tried to square his downfall with their professed embrace of free speech rights. Number 2. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s vaccine panel recommended its first change to childhood immunizations. Federal vaccine advisors voted yesterday to recommend skipping a measles, mumps, rubella, and chickenpox vaccine until a child is at least 4 years old. That shot is currently given between 12 and 15 months of age. Around 15% of children receive this combination shot. Most receive MMR without the chickenpox. The 12-member vaccine panel was handpicked by Kennedy. Their recommendation now goes to the acting head of the CDC. Their decision capped a meeting that was marked by confusion over what information the panel was being presented. At one point, some members asked what they had just voted on, and more changes could be coming soon. The panel also appears poised to change a long-standing recommendation over the hepatitis B vaccine. And today, the panel is meeting to decide which Americans should receive an updated coronavirus shot. Number 3. Democratic elected officials were arrested at an ICE facility in Manhattan. More than a dozen New York Democrats were arrested at 26 Federal Plaza yesterday. You just heard dozens of anti-ICE protesters blocking the driveway to that sprawling building. It houses an immigration court and holding cells operated by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's been accused in a lawsuit of having overcrowded and unsanitary conditions. The elected officials were seeking access to the facility and protesting the Trump administration's mass deportation campaign. In an exclusive story this morning, the Post reported that ICE is seeking hundreds of new offices across the U.S. as the agency expands. Find a link to that story in today's newsletter. A growing number of Americans think the U.S. supports Israel too much in its war in Gaza. That's number 4. A new survey by the nonpartisan Chicago Council on Global Affairs revealed a shift in how Americans view Israel. It found that 53% of Democrats and 42% of independents think the U.S. supports Israel too much. That's an increase of 13% among Democrats and 8% among independents since last year. The shift is different for Republicans, who largely back U.S. support for Israel's campaign. Even so, 14% say the U.S. is not supporting Israel enough. Last year, in polls taken during the Biden presidency, it was 40%. The findings come as tens of thousands of Palestinians are fleeing Israel's invasion of Gaza City. In our newsletter today, you'll find a link to our visual story showing how the forced displacement of civilians in Gaza has unfolded. Number 5. A new study shows that wildfire smoke is causing 41,000 premature deaths in the U.S. a year. Every year, millions of Americans' lungs are filled with wildfire smoke. That smoke then penetrates the bloodstream and gets deep into organs. That can trigger lung and heart disease. Since 2020, exposure to toxic smoke in the U.S. has skyrocketed. Climate change plays a key role in driving more frequent and intense wildfires. Hotter temperatures dry out soils, grasses, and trees and make them more vulnerable to catching fire. At the same time, the U.S. has for decades engaged in wildfire suppression, that is, putting out fires as soon as they start. That leaves forests and grasslands filled with dry fuels ready to burn. Number 6. Taking a Wegovy pill could be as effective as the shot. In a clinical trial, pharmaceutical company Novo Nordisk said that obese and overweight people who took a pill form of their weight loss drug and adhered to treatment lost 16.6% of their body weight over 64 weeks. According to Novo Nordisk, that was comparable with previous trials of injectable Wegovy. It's a key finding after recent clinical trial results have suggested that weight loss pills may not be as potent as GLP-1 shots. About 16 million Americans take GLP-1 medications. Now, pharmaceutical companies are racing to get an anti-obesity pill to market first. And at number 7. Our reporters tried to figure out how OpenAI trained its video tool. OpenAI is the maker of ChatGPT. Its video generation tool, Sora, can create high-definition clips of just about anything you could ask for. Perhaps you have seen one sent to you by your parents who saw it on Facebook and thought it was real. But anyway, OpenAI won't say whose content trained Sora. So our reporters looked for clues. They used Sora to create hundreds of videos that show it can closely mimic movies, TV shows, and other content. They found the tool could produce clips that resembled Netflix shows like Wednesday and popular video games like Minecraft, suggesting Sora had been trained on a version of the originals. A disclaimer here, the post has a content partnership with OpenAI. OpenAI is currently facing several lawsuits on issues including copyright and consumer protection. Writers allege the company stole their work to train its AI. So tell your mother that the next time she sends you a video of an uncanny fake baby playing with a litter of puppies. That's the show for this week, and it was an exciting one for us. Please welcome the newest member of our team, Izan Akabau. Other than that, it was the usual cast of characters, plus a few extras. The associate producer of The Seven is Taylor White. Special thanks this week to Rennie Svirnovsky and Emma Talkoff. The staff writers are me, Jamie Ross, and Izan. John Taylor is our editor. Additional editing and hosting by Christina Quinn. Copy editing by Melissa No and Thomas Haliba. Mixing and sound design is by Jim Briggs and Justin Garish. Our theme music is by Edith Mudge. Renita Jablonski is our director of audio. I'm Hannah Jewell. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend. I'll meet you back here on Monday.